Bienvenue, or should I say welcome, to the National Pulse. I'm Raheem Kassam, editor-in-chief of thenationalpulse.com. We're live from downtown Washington, D.C., and I'm glad for it as well, given that yesterday I was up in a very, 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 very cold Scranton, Pennsylvania. It was an extraordinary day that we spent up there yesterday with Nigel Farage, Jerome Riviere, who joins us in studio today, and a whole host of other foreign dignitaries, so that they could see what a Trump rally in full flow looks like. Now, we were outside at the airport there in Avoca, Pennsylvania. Thousands of people gathered to see President Trump and waited in the freezing cold, and I will add, the shivering cold winds. And it was just an incredible sight to behold. I want to show you some of the pictures from yesterday as they appear on my screen. And I want to credit one of my great photographer friends from London, Stuart, who came over and did the pictures. You can see there Nigel Farage. If you look really closely, you can see me looking at my phone right behind him. But what a picture! The best is yet to come, and what a day for it. It's game day today, remember, and we'll be talking about some of the things we're seeing across the country from the polling stations and the ballot boxes and beyond. Natalie Winters is not in studio with us today, but what she is doing is running probably the best live blog, live coverage out there right now, which is documenting all of the issues that are taking place all across the country. And I want you all to make sure you're going to thenationalpulse.com. It's right there in the breaking news section, right under the big header in the breaking news section. First and only story today is the live blog where we're aggregating from our sources across the country, as well as social media and verified from the Trump campaign and beyond, all of these specific issues that are taking place in all of the battleground states out there right now. Go in and have a look. You've got to be sharing this thing. People have to be aware of the cheat and the steal that's taking place right now. Now, having said that, do I feel bullish about the president's chances? I absolutely do. So much so that I called up my bookmaker yesterday and placed a not unsubstantial bet for the president to win tonight. But what time will it happen? Who knows? We'll be covering it here on Real America's Voice. Steve Bannon's War Room will also be live on YouTube as well from 7 p.m., broadcasting live from the best location in town. Right above the Capitol building, we'll be bringing you the live information along with more guests. But I want to throw back to my screen here for a second, if I may, and show you some of the images from yesterday. I know a lot of people don't get to go to these rallies, or perhaps you have been to some and haven't been to. I mean, this is my third one ever. I went to the first one in 2016, went to another one in 2018. There I am yesterday. I think I was taking a selfie of myself there. That's a common occurrence. There we are in the crowd also, right at the front row. To my right, Jerry Gunster, you can see there, who was in the Trump Tower with us on November the 10th, 2016. We were the first guests to see the president-elect back then, with Nigel Farage, Andy Wigmore, Aaron Banks, Jerry Gunster, and others. There is an incredible shot of the president, and you can see how windy it was there. And there we have as well Nigel Farage and Alexander Priat, and then yours truly once again. I think we can kill that feed. All right, in studio with me, and this is the National Pulse, and this is Real America's Voice. But you've got some of the best experts on this network who have been bringing you election coverage all day long, and will be bringing you election coverage across the day. Carrie Sheffield and Gina Loudon and the whole gang will be with you later on today on Real America's Voice. So I thought we'll do something different here. I thought what we'd do is we'd gather the foreign dignitaries who are in town to see what an American election looks like, to see what the carnage looks like here in Washington, D.C. and other states around the country where things are being boarded up, and get their reaction to it. Get a feel for how they feel this American election is being run, and what parallels may be between their countries. So we have Jerome Riviere. He's the member of the European Parliament in France for the Rassemblement National, the president of the Rassemblement National delegation in the European Parliament. That's the populist nationalist party that's run by Marine Le Pen. And Jerome, I got to start with this. Your country has seen some heinous attacks in the last couple of weeks. We've got about 2 minutes before break here, so before we get into the American election, I want to understand from you and from you guys, because I know Marine Le Pen and the Rassemblement National Party has been incredibly forthright about the issue of radical Islam and mass migration. Is this an I told you so moment for you guys?
It is, Raheem, but at the same time, it is sad to be right. It is sad that the France, my beloved country, was unable to elect politicians willing enough to understand that we are under attack. France has been under attack for the past 12 years. Since 2028, we have had more than 300 people killed by Islamist terror.
Hold on, repeat that, because that will seem like crazy numbers.
Since 2008, 300 French people slaughtered by Islamist terrors. The latest one were people beheaded. I'm not talking about people being stabbed. I'm talking about beheading.
But why do you say that? Because here, if you turn on CNN, they say a man was stabbed.
Exactly. And same thing in French media. They were not willing to say the truth. People are not just stabbed, they are beheaded. A lady, 60 years old, was beheaded inside the church where she was praying. We are being under attack because we're a Christian nation. And this is something that we have to understand. This is what the French politicians have been denying for many years. We are under attack because of our identity. And what I like about President Trump is that here in America, he's defending the identity of the United States. This is where it is going to be interesting. This is why I have great hope that President Trump wins this election. It would be a great signal for Europe.
When we come back, Jerome, I want to get your thoughts on the rally yesterday. You were up there with us, and what you think is going to happen at this election. Are the Democrats going to be able to steal it? Check out the live blog in the break, thenationalpulse.com. In the breaking section, Natalie Winter's doing a terrific job. Head on over there. Show us some support. Maybe I'll give her a pay rise. We'll be back in just a moment. Somebody just sent me this in the break. Huffington Post, the vast far-right web behind the Hunter Biden story. I believe yours truly is named in there. I'll check it out and let you know what happens in that Huffington Post hate blog. They're still denying the hard drive was real, by the way, even though Joe Biden's campaign won't deny that it's real, because they know it's real. But nevertheless, there'll be a lot more to answer for on that hard drive from hell, especially if President Trump gets re-elected and FBI Director Christopher Wray gets fired. My guest in studio today, member of the European Parliament, Jerome Riviere, and joining us in just a moment, Jaak Madison, another member of the European Parliament from Estonia. And I want to get their views on what's going on here in the United States, why it matters to them, and why what is happening in France and beyond matters to you. Jerome, back to you while I unplug the fan that shouldn't have been plugged in. Jerome, I want to ask you this question. The Islamic State has now taken credit for the attacks in Vienna, and I think still they haven't caught everybody who was a part of that attack.
No.
I understand that, you know, all the national security apparatus in Europe has been alerted to the fact that there has now been a tell, right? That there has been an instruction, a diktat from the whatever it is, the Islamic State, the Al-Qaeda, up higher ups, and Britain changed its security situation this morning to severe, which means that there is an imminent attack. The intelligence agencies think there is an imminent attack. So why now? Is it because we're struggling from COVID-19, because there's an election going on, because it's coming up to Christmas? In your opinion, why now? And what is this? Is it about some cartoons? What is it really about?
In France, people were saying it is about the freedom of speech, because in France we published cartoons that were diminishing the prophet, but we do that. It's a tradition of France to have the freedom of speech, and you can make fun of whoever you want, including religion.
You do it to me enough.
I do it to you enough. But the point is that some people were saying, look, if you were not doing such things, you would not be under attack. In Vienna, it has nothing to do with that, because Vienna doesn't believe in such things, and Vienna doesn't have a colonial past. France used to be a colonial power like the United Kingdom, and some people are saying it's because of your past. No, in fact, the similitude between what is happening in Austria, what happened in France, what happened also in England a few years ago, is the fact that they do not like our identity. Political Islam, I'm not talking about the religion itself, but political Islam, which is people that believe that Islam is before everything, a legal system that should exist in a country, is trying to put Europe on its knees. And they have decided that it's a good time. Why? Because indeed we are under duress because of COVID. You have to understand that in France right now, for the second time, we are under a lockdown. The economy is bleeding. Small companies cannot do business anymore. It is a terrible situation. So we are weak, and when you are weak, this is when you go for the throat. And this is what they have been doing. And plus, people like Macron, because this is something that makes a difference. Here, your president was gutsy enough, Macron, the French president, sorry. Your president was gutsy enough when COVID came to say, I'm closing the borders with China. Right. It made sense. In France, so far, we have never closed our borders. Macron believes in open borders for everyone. We are still having migrants come inside our borders, and the guy who perpetrated the assault in Nice, who beheaded the woman, had come only a couple of weeks before on a boat from Tunisia to Italy, allowed by the policies of France and Europe. This is how stupid Europe is acting right now.
So a lot of people out there will be watching this and going, why are they talking about terrorism in Europe? This is election day in the United States. It's the most important day. It's the day that everyone's been building up to. But it is hyper relevant, isn't it? It's hyper relevant as people go to the polls and make their choices, because Joe Biden believes in immediate amnesty for tens of millions of people. Joe Biden has pledged complete open borders.
Joe Biden is Emmanuel Macron. He's the same.
Right.
He is a globalist. He believes in the same policies that we have in Europe. And I'm telling you, when you talk about socialism, I know that some people do not understand what it is. We know what it is in Europe. And this is the disaster we are living. Yeah. So voting for Joe Biden is becoming Europe. And you don't want to become Europe, not at least right now.
Socialism in France is so bad that they took Jerome's blazer away from him, right? He can't even get a blazer to come on my program today. Jerome, I want to pivot now, and I want to go throw back to my screen really quickly, because you've been running around town meeting very high-profile people. There's you meeting with Mayor Rudy Giuliani, the president's personal lawyer, very, very important person in all of this. While I flip through some more of the pictures here, why don't you tell us a little bit about your time in town and what you're seeing with things being boarded up? Has this happened on election day in France?
We have had some bad days in France with the yellow jacket or yellow vest, I don't know how you call them here, that have been doing a lot of violence in the country, especially because we have Antifa that joins them and that destroys things. Anytime you oppose their views, the globalist views, they come with violence. But it is kind of sad to come in the countries that shines democracy to see that in fact the democratic practice of election day is something that creates violence. It is quite worrisome. The one thing that I did enjoy, because I've been to several political meetings over my life in the United States, is yesterday the enthusiasm. It was, as you said, 2 p.m. on a Monday, freezing cold, windy, and you had thousands of people come in. We had to wait. We waited almost 2 hours for the president to arrive. And then they were happy. They greeted him. And the president was delivering a speech with enthusiasm. And this is the one thing I'm going to carry back to Marine Le Pen when I'm going back to Paris.
That's your party's leader. That's
my
the candidate for president who's going to be running against Macron in 2 years' time.
Exactly. Yep. She's the one who is going to defeat Macron in 2 years' time. And she will defeat him because she will carry such enthusiasm as President Trump did carry. Instead of focusing on how bad Biden is, he's focusing on how great he's going to make America. And this is something that is very interesting. When you look at Biden from foreign eyes, when you look at Biden, he's only telling you how bad Trump is, how bad COVID is, how bad everything is, and he's saying basically, trust me because I'm going to close shop. Whereas Trump is just telling the United States, look, we're going to make it great again, and we're going to move forward. That's the type of hope I want for my country.
Let's throw to the computer here one more time right before the break. I want to show you the first, I'm breaking news here. This is the view that we're going to be broadcasting tonight for the War Room special, 7 p.m. And you obviously have the Real America's Voice team here as well. 2 concurrent broadcasts will be working together to bring you all the latest, and you'll have War Room on Real America's Voice and vice versa. Stick around, we'll be back with more Jerome Riviere after this short break. Welcome back to the National Pulse. I want to go right back to my guest in studio, member of the European Parliament, Jerome Riviere, joining us in studio all the way from France. Jerome, talk to us about the parallels here that we're seeing all across the Western world. You know, you've got globalism in the United Kingdom being ostensibly defeated with Brexit. However, you know, we know how that dragged out over the course of 4 years. We still don't know what kind of Brexit we're getting when the December the 31st deadline comes. You have a very important election going on in your country in just 2 years' time. You've had a number of victories, the Rassemblement National, over the last couple of years with this reinvigorated party, new name, renewed focus, renewed attention from the public in your favor. Just missed out very briefly, you know, at the last election on getting Marine Le Pen elected as a president. And of course, you have this huge election going on over here and in lots of other countries, Brazil and India and beyond. You've got this populist nationalist uprising, and a lot of the media types, the Anderson Coopers, the Fareed Zakarias, the Rachel Maddows, they say this is the end. This is the end of the road. President Trump is going to lose tonight, and this marks the end for all of the populist nationalist movements abroad. What do you say to that?
You know, it would be their dream come true. Of course, they want to stop the movement, but I believe, and even if President Trump were to be defeated, and I don't think it's going to be the case, I know that everybody, the mainstream media is carrying on the air the fact that he's going to lose the electoral vote, the popular vote. But you know, in Europe, people say, so if he loses the popular vote, this means it's over. But it's a different system, and a lot of foreigners do not understand that. But if he were to lose, I believe that he has changed the paradigm of the political agenda for a long time, the way Marine Le Pen did in France. It's not left against right, it's not Democrat against Republican, at least the way it used to be. It is the people that love their country, the people that believe that solution can be found inside their own countries against the globalists. The globalists are led by people like Soros. One has to know that Soros, the organization Open Society, is putting billions of dollars, of euros, in NGOs in order to disrupt.
But hang on, but isn't that just a conspiracy theory?
No,
and you're an anti-Semite because you bring up George Soros, and if you're on Fox News right now, they'd cut you off and kick you out.
No, the truth is that we have a lot of media coverage that explains that how the European Court is linked with Soros, and this has been documented. A lot of judges, more than 150 of them, have economical ties with the Open Society organization. They have been paid at one point in their life. They have been helped at one point in their life by the Open Society, which is a Soros-funded organization, in order to defend a specific agenda. This agenda is a globalist agenda that believes that, as its name says it, open borders and migration. We have now boats coming from all over Africa, crossing the Mediterranean Sea. These boats are paid by NGOs. You know, in 2015, the day Angela Merkel, who is the Chancellor of Germany, she made a tweet saying, oh, the borders are open. Within hours, you had millions of people, hundreds of thousands of people, when I'm talking about hours, coming inside Germany and then spreading all over Europe. How do you think hundreds of thousands of people come in if there is not an organization paying for boats, for trips? We know, and it is documented, you just don't cross the Mediterranean Sea if you're not organized.
They're obviously just migrants who are building rafts on the edges of Africa and mounting their own way into Europe, and they find their way very easily through Europe.
You know it is not true. You know that they are going into boat. There are organizations helping them.
Well, there's human trafficking organizations as well as the organized left.
Exactly. And the thing is that the people coming in are not, you know, they are described sometimes as people are fleeing the war, but there is no war in Tunisia. The guy that came in France and slaughtered the 3 people in Nice was coming from Tunisia. Tunisia is a country that has some trouble, but they are not at war. So he had no point in being in Europe. And if Europe fails, if for any reason we were unable to fight this war because there is a war engaged against us, then you'll be the next target. It is important for the American people to understand that they cannot be blind to what's going on in Europe. You cannot just turn your face away and not be aware of what's going on, because if we collapse, then you will be the next target.
Sure. I agree with you that, you know, fleeing, especially the idea of fleeing safe countries, is ridiculous. You know, they shouldn't be classed as refugees. So on that basis, can I ask you to tell your French Navy to stop sending people into Britain?
No, the French Navy is not sending
people.
You
are escorting migrants across the English Channel.
But you know, Raheem, this is the same thing. Macron is sharing this policy of open borders. And he's making things easy. The way Italy helped people go into France, it is true, I will not deny the fact that France is not making it difficult for people to go into Great Britain because they are better off out of our country. This is why we need to take our borders back.
In a lot of cases, they shouldn't even be in France because they've already entered a safe European country before France as well. And per the European Union's own regulations, a migrant should be processed and remain in the first safe country of passage. Which brings me on to my next question. And I know this is always a sticking point between us, but why does both the French establishment and the populist nationalist movement in France still basically run on, we'll remain European Union members? Can you explain that to us?
Because we tried to run a campaign 4 years ago in 2017 based on the fact that we wanted to do the equivalent of the Brexit. And we know that the French people do not want that. There is a confusion between Europe and European Union. And the European Union has been able to say, look, we are Europe. So what we're doing is explaining we are going to try and change it from within. Because to be honest, until 1992, Europe was a positive, the organization, it was not the European Union, it was the European community.
It was a trading organization.
It was a trading organization. And this is what we want to go back to. So those are play on words. What we want, what the populists want, is to go back to what was going on before 1992. We are willing to trade with our neighbors. We want to have good relationship with all our neighbors, even the British. But the thing is, we don't want to have a political union with them. So that's what we're doing.
I'm going to keep you on for another one segment here as well, because we've got more to cover here. Jerome Riviere, member of the European Parliament for France, has been touring around the United States the last couple of days, is here for the election to monitor. He'll be around with us on the War Room broadcast tonight as well, so make sure you're following Steve Bannon's War Room on YouTube. Also, make sure you're following Real America's Voice coverage this evening. I'm sure most of you have two screens. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to the National Pulse. I'm Raheem Kassam, editor-in-chief of thenationalpulse.com, where we are running the live blog of all live blogs, especially if you're concerned about the big steal that's taking place right now. Let's throw it to my screen for a second here so that people can see and I built this graphic myself this morning. I was so incredibly pleased with it. But Natalie Winter's doing an amazing job. You can see here the live stream updating almost by the second with information about what's taking place all around the country. Alerts from all across the United States, alerts from the CDC, alerts from poll workers in Pennsylvania. There are videos, there are images, there are pictures. Natalie's doing just an incredible job. I want you to go there and make sure you support her and our work at thenationalpulse.com. We're trying to, we're a small team, but we're bringing you the information that CNN won't bring you. They're bringing you the information that MSNBC won't bring you, bringing you the information that even Fox News won't bring you in real time as we find it. No filters. This is how the real news should be done on a day as important as this. And there will be steals out there. We've already seen this morning videos of election monitors trying to access polling stations in Pennsylvania and being turned away by the election workers, by the state election workers, saying, sorry, you got a little slip that says, the state of Pennsylvania allows you to come in and monitor this election on behalf of the Republican Party and the campaign of Donald J. Trump. Sorry, you're not coming in. And that's all being litigated almost in real time right now. I know they're investigating that particular place. I had a source on the phone with me this morning who told me that a polling place that was supposed to open in Lucerne County, Pennsylvania at 7 a.m., the polling station didn't open until 8 a.m. and polling didn't start taking place until 8:45 a.m. this morning. Now, if you've got a ballot with a faulty signature or it's in the wrong envelope or whatever, you can look at that and a judge can make a decision, right? Supreme Court can make a decision. Should that count or should that not? How do you get an hour back in time? How do you get an hour and a half back in time? Does the polling place stay open an hour and a half further? How do you communicate with the voters on polling day that polling place will be open an hour and a half later? Do you delay all the results of the state to account for that one polling place? This is a mess, and it's a mess by design. It was intended to be a mess. It was always meant to be a mess. The idea of telling people, scaring people away from the polls, say, don't go vote, vote by mail instead. Oh, but no, they actually do go and vote. It's fine suddenly, when the Democrats realized that they had traumatized their entire electorate and nobody was going to go out on election day and cast their votes, and they didn't have enough people on the mail-in ballots to account for it. Then it suddenly became fine, go and vote on voting day. And then the CDC issuing a thing just now saying, yeah, it's fine, go to your polling station. This was designed to be a mess. Why? Because they always knew Joe Biden was a weak candidate. They always knew Joe Biden's was a weak campaign. They always knew that enthusiasm would be in the pits for someone like Joe Biden, and especially someone like Kamala Harris, the cringy Kamala Harris with that awful cackle. Self-righteous, arrogant, in-your-face communists. You see what Kamala Harris posted the other day? We're not after equity, we're after equality, and it's this whole, it looks like a communist propaganda video. Maybe we'll try and put it up in the next segment here. But this was always going to be the case. So that after the election, when these two weak candidates are blown out on election night, that they can go, hey, we got to find 50,000 votes. We got to find 100,000 votes. There's a warehouse somewhere. There's a truck somewhere. There's a USPS carrier who just, oh yeah, I've got 15 here and 20 there, and whatever they're down by in a place like Pennsylvania, they're going to try and make it up with fraud. Mark my words. I want to turn back to Jerome Riviere, member of the European Parliament, who's in studio with me here. Jerome, should the president, if all looks good for the president tonight, should he declare victory?
I would say yes, but I wanted to react on your comments before. To a foreigner, to a French person, we love America. It's a country that came on D-Day and saved the day. So there is a strong feeling for the Americans. And to us, America is about truth, transparency, honesty. We believe the American to be such people. What you say is really astonishing, but what is the most astonishing to European citizens and to French citizens is the fact you can go to a voting station, you come, you state your name, they don't ask if it's really you, and you can vote. I have never seen that. I'm a politician in my country. I've gone through several elections, but the one thing we want to make sure is that the person who is voting is really the person who has the right to vote. Here, I could basically walk into a polling station and vote on behalf of someone else.
You're talking about voter ID.
Yeah.
So in France, you have to show identification.
Of course. Why wouldn't you show your identity?
I don't have to show identification in Britain to vote.
I am sorry.
No, I agree with you.
Doesn't make any sense.
I agree with you.
You don't know who's voting, and this is where a lot of cheating can begin. If you want the democratic process to be honest, if you want the people to believe that the person that they have elected are the one that should be elected, you have to know that the process was right. And I think that the American democracy is pretty sick. So I think it is one of the problems of this election.
Look, you're not new to Washington D.C. You've been here a lot, many times. How does it make you feel? You walk around and you see all these barricades and boardings going up everywhere.
I feel sad that the people feel that they cannot be defended by the law, by their government, and I think that it is a statement also that they are willing to have the extreme left. The Antifa, the Black Lives Matter, come and destroy the city. It is something that they are doing to impress the electorate. It is some kind of blackmail. Like if you vote and if this is Trump, we are going to destroy the cities. So I don't think it is really legal. I don't think you are allowed to push the electorate into changing his vote because he's afraid of something. So this is something I hope will be investigated, talked to, and analyzed in the weeks to come, in the months to come, because it is quite sad.
Jerome, finally, a prediction for the result of the election.
I will predict with what I hope, and I think that President Trump will be elected. I definitely, truly hope that he will be elected. It is good for the United States, and it is good for France.
And your presidential election in 2 years' time?
Well, Marine Le Pen should win, because the situation of France right now is absolutely terrible regarding Islamism, as I said, and regarding the economy. We are in a lockdown. Companies do not work anymore. People are stuck. They cannot. You know that you cannot soon won't be able to even order food out past 9 p.m. So basically, a member of Congress said basically you can wash yourself, you can eat, and you can heal yourself, but that's it.
Extraordinary stuff. And that could be the future here if we don't guard against socialism. We'll be back in a second. Welcome back to the National Pulse. I'm Raheem Kassam, joining you here on game day in the United States. Firstly and foremostly, and I'm sure even management wouldn't mind me saying this, if you haven't voted yet, turn this off and go and vote. Okay, this is the most important day in just maybe forever, as far as me being on the planet is concerned, right? And so I want to make sure that you all do your duty. I'm sure many of you already have. But don't be intimidated. Don't be intimidated by the weather. Don't be intimidated by the Democrats. Don't be intimidated by the people at the polls trying to stop you from voting. Don't be intimidated by what you're hearing on the press. It is imperative. And I know you all feel good out there, right? I get that. I get that you see the big red wave occurring. I get that the red mirage thing isn't a thing. But I need you to understand this. That only works if you go out and vote. Don't rely on your neighbor to do it. Don't rely on your boss to do it. Don't say, oh, well, my husband voted, so I don't need to, or my wife I don't need to. No, you have to do it yourself. Because you do not want to wake up in the morning feeling like Hillary Clinton did, feeling like Ben Rhodes did, feeling like all of those people on the left. Remember, they thought it was it. So many of them just didn't bother to go out and vote. They thought she had it in the bag. Don't be those people. I know you're not. Go out and vote. We're back here with another member of the European Parliament. Jaak Madison joins us in studio. Jaak from Estonia. What do Estonians care about what happens at a US election?
Actually, we really care about very much. Good afternoon also for everyone, and also call everyone to go to vote, because I've said always, if you don't vote, don't say anything tomorrow about your defense, about your tax policy, about the school system, about the BLM is destroying your house. Don't say anything. Just be quiet for the next 4 years. So just go to vote. And but about the elections, as you know, in the global world, the liberal media is just scrolling over all over the countries, and the average journalist, they're lazy and stupid. So they're just taking over most of the news from the big media groups, like CNN. Even in Estonia, you can read the news how Biden is leading with about 10%, how he's going to win, how good it is for the defense policy, for the cooperation between Estonia and US, between the European Union and the US. I'm just reading several times articles in the mainstream media that how wrong it is. How wrong it is if we are looking the facts about the Joe Biden, when he was the vice president for 8 years, what he really did, what have done Donald Trump. Everybody said before 2016, oh, he's going to destroy the NATO, he's going to destroy the allies. Nothing has happened.
Hang on, because this is really interesting. You're telling us, and I know this, but I want the American audience, predominantly American audience of this show, to understand that if they think CNN is bad, try looking at the liberal media in Europe, because they're not just predicting Joe Biden will win, they're predicting a landslide of epic proportions. And that, I've seen articles from Europe that suggest Trump will have to go into exile, and find some Caribbean island to hide on. This is the mindset of these reporters, right? And what are they relying on here?
And that's the thing, it's the ideology. If you're
ideology.
You're just blind. You're just blind. You're believing about the human rights, the rights for the migration, the global economy, and you're just believing that. And if you're looking at the universities, you're looking who's going to be the next journalist. They are just 21, 22 years old. They're coming out from the universities, from the liberal universities. They're going to be the young journalists. They're really believing that, oh, that's a great word. And now it's coming some kind of right-wing, populist, extremist. They want to destroy all our world. And I'm just saying to them, okay, how many of you have moved from US to Canada? Who said in 2016, oh, it's going to be terrible in the US? Even in our former president of Estonia, Toomas Hendrik Ilves, who's absolutely one of the biggest globalists in Estonia. He's from America, he born here, he's a total Biden fan. He said it's going to be a landslide from the Biden. And tonight we just want to prove him that you were wrong. You didn't know anything about that, like you didn't know anything about 4 years ago.
Why didn't they know anything about 4 years ago? Because look, these people they're not stupid.
No.
They have made very comfortable lives for themselves. They've been elected to very powerful positions. They've got a lot of resources in front of them. Why do they continue to get it wrong?
Because at this time, until 2016, when I had the Brexit and the Trump won the elections in the US, this system worked very well. That they knew that if they are just pushing some kind of, the fake news, their own ideology to the media, the people will believe that they control the whole society over all the world. But now, they got just cheated. Wow, what happened? And they're just trying to do it in the same way without recognizing that they're just going to have again the same mistake what they did like 4 years ago with the Brexit and with the Trump. So and that's why it's historically important what will happen tonight and tomorrow and next few weeks when we're going to know like who's going to be next president, 46th president of the United States. So and they're trying to restore the world where they used to be, because it's useful for them all day. It's useful for the mainstream media, mainstream journalists, mainstream politicians, the elite, the globalists, and that's our work now to prove to people that, hey, don't believe everything what you read. You know actually in your head that you're getting cheated. Actually you know that, but you don't just want to recognize it because...
But there's a lot of people out there who are quite happy to be cheated as long as they can be lazy as a result, you know?
Yeah, until the government is paying for them like enough, they can be like lazy as enough, you know. Okay,
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I watch some of these videos that you see on Instagram, and I don't have TikTok, but you know, sometimes they cross-post them to YouTube, and they end up in my Twitter feed and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And you see all of these people who are complaining that they're living under a fascist dictator, an authoritarian regime, they fear for their lives, but literally, the videos that they do, they're all just like, you know, life's great, they're wearing expensive, you know, Lululemon outfits and all this stuff.
Yeah.
There is this weird, you know, dichotomy going on out there, and the only way I can explain it is that they want to be ruled, right?
Yeah.
Because they want to be lazy. They don't want to be citizens.
And they're just so stupid that they doesn't even recognize. I was in February in CPAC here in Washington. I just walked past the White House, and in front of the White House, you know, like a mass of the protesters. And there were one guy sitting there and just producing the fake video and the music about Donald Trump that, oh, I am a liar, I am a fake news producer. Well, if you're living under the fascism and the communists, you will never do it in North Korea, in Russia, in China. Never ever. You will be torched. You will be killed. So just be careful what you're saying, because you don't know anything about the fascism or communism or dictatorship. You're living in a free country, and Trump is the only guy who just wants to protect this freedom, what you have for the amendment number 2, the freedom of speech. You can even like criticize your own president. That's fine. And we have to protect that in the US and in Europe.
We'll be back with more with Jaak Madison, member of the European Parliament. And again, I say this, if you haven't voted yet, don't worry about what Jaak and I have to say in the next segment. Turn your TV off, go and vote. We'll see you back in a second if you have voted. Welcome back to the National Pulse. I'm Raheem Kassam, joined by MEP, member of the European... Let's try that again, shall we? Member of the European Parliament, Jack Madison here. I know there were some sound issues on the show. I didn't realise it infected my mouth as well. Hopefully we've got those all tidied up. I'll tell you what had happened is the sound engineers heard me say go and vote, so they actually just left and voted. So I can't complain. That's what we want people to do. Jack, thank you so much for being here with us today. I want to understand something. Because the European media, lucky for me, I haven't had to live in the European Union now for a long time. And I genuinely feel appalled. You see the terror attacks, for instance. You see what's going on with the lockdowns. I feel appalled for the good citizens of Europe who have to live under these draconian rules and this nonsense mindset, right? The mindset that somehow Joe Biden would be good for Europe. Joe Biden would be good for the European Union, but the European Union has not been good for Europe, has it, Jack?
Exactly. That's the main thing. I'm in the European Parliament. I'm a member of the European Parliament and with relations with the US delegation. And 95% of the MEPs there in this delegation, or even the European Parliament, they are totally on the liberal left side. They're just praising for Joe Biden that he will win. They're criticizing all the time Donald Trump. And that's the same thing in the mainstream media, in all the countries, in most of the countries in the EU, maybe not in Hungary or Poland, but in the western, central part of Europe, also in Estonia, they're doing that. And they're just hoping that only because that Donald Trump said very clearly in the beginning of 2017 when he got the seat as a president of the United States that, hey, for me, I'm working for the American citizens. I'm working for the American people. I'm taking care of our economy, our safety. So just take it or leave it.
Right.
And for the EU side, it's understandable. Oh, how you can do that? We are all globalists. We have to work, all together. But Trump says, no, we can cooperate together if it's fair. It's the same thing with the defense policy. If he sends, Trump sends now, thousands of the troops from Germany to Poland, only because the Germans, they just prefer to pay for the migration, to the social health care, spending the billions of euros for these topics, but they're not raising their spendings to the defense policy. Right. And now the Americans said, why? Why our farmers have to pay with our taxes for your safety? Come on. So in this case, our conservatives, in Estonia and other countries, we are exactly on the same side with the Trump and Republicans because we are taking it fairly. Come on, we have to pay, you have to pay. You have interest in Europe, in the eastern, northern part of Europe, geopolitically, and we have interest to have good cooperation with you because we are sharing the same values. We are also concerned about safety and security in the whole world, if we're looking at Russia or China or North Korea. And the mainstream media doesn't just understand it, they doesn't agree with that because they are just blind in their own ideology.
I want to throw something on the screen here from my device, if the production team wouldn't mind. Going to my computer here, I wonder if we can pull this up. All right, so this is an article in Britain's Telegraph. You can see it here, Jack. It says, Britain would be better off with Joe Biden. And it's written by a former member of the cabinet called Sajid Javid. Now, Sajid Javid is one of Boris Johnson's best buddies. Sajid Javid is somebody who's supposed to be a staunch conservative. Sajid Javid, even though he, I think, campaigned to remain in the European Union, came out afterwards and said, well, we lost, and so now I have to, do the will of the people and help us out of the European Union. So we can lose that now. What do you say? I mean, that's supposed to be a conservative member of parliament, and he's stumping for Joe Biden, a Joe Biden who has told the world that under a Biden presidency, there will be no trade deal with Britain, and what he'll do is seek to embolden the European Union. And I just want to ask you this on behalf of the American audience, right? Do you think Americans go out and they vote in their self-interest, as they should, right?
Yeah.
But do you think that also Americans hold in their hands today, their vote is actually something that impacts, people who are suffering under the yoke of socialism in Europe and around the world too? Because Joe Biden will embolden those socialist institutions, will he not?
Absolutely. I know very well that the understanding of the socialism is very different, even like the EU and European countries, because in this case, in the US, we're understanding the socialism as a communism, We want to take your money. We want to raise taxes. We just want to take the control to the government to decide where the money has to go. And the free people are saying that no, I'm better owner of my own money. I know much better ways where to spend it, and just leave me alone. And that's the main basement where we have absolute disagreements, with the socialists and with the free people. And unfortunately, the thousands of millions of the American people doesn't really understand what means the new Green Deal. What means like the climate change, the hysteria, what we are just blowing up all the time, that, we are just dying at soon because we are warming up. Well, I was yesterday in Pennsylvania. I was freezing as cold. So
yeah, you weren't warming up in Scranton.
And doesn't understand. And if Joe Biden says that, hey, we're going to have like a tough policy against China and Russia and against Iran, how? You're going to destroy your economy. Thanks for the climate change history, like historical things, like what you're just producing. Just like mess up. You are destroying your economy, and you can't be anymore the leading power of the free world. You're just destroying yourself, and it will be not like the free spot. It will like take over by the Chinese or Russians. So you have to protect your own economy and your own freedoms. And only Trump is the people who says that. And I'm just really afraid that if the people doesn't understand how important it is to vote for the conservatives, even like in the US or in Estonia, one day it will be like too late to just turn it all back. We are just too late, because if you're going to destroy the world and it's taken over by the Chinese or Russians,
gone.
It's gone.
30 seconds, your prediction.
I really hope that Trump wins. I really hope. But as I'm conservative, I'm just waiting for the results. But if at night, 1, 2 a.m., we know that he will win Pennsylvania, Florida, Michigan, Ohio, he's the president.
Jack Madison, thank you so much for joining us here in studio. One more time, I want to throw to my screen here this part of the website, the National Pulse. It's thenationalpulse.com/donate. And what that is if you don't want to join as a member, you can just donate. And it used to say it's up to you to fund real news, but I changed it just now, because up to you to fund real booze, because I need somebody to buy me some drinks tonight. It's going to be a long old night. We're going to be broadcasting from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. here on Real America's Voice on the YouTube Live, Steve Bannon's War Room. I want to make sure that everybody tunes in. Jack will be joining us. Jerome Riviere will be joining us. More of the delegation. Nigel Farage, Terry Schilling, Harlan Hill, the whole National Pulse crew, Natalie Winters, etc. We'll see you later on tonight for what I think will be a celebration.